the Kowski brothers, and we're at Squonkapalooza.
It isn't built like a person. It's very short and squat. Maybe not short, but like very squat, heavy, and robust. And it sure seems peculiar that a person would be there. Of course, what are the chances of catching a Sasquatch being there at that same moment too? So that's also interesting.
Are you enjoying Squonkapalooza right now?
I'm loving it.
Why do you like Squonkapalooza?
Well, because I'm into all the cryptids. They're all my friends.
And because you're Bigfoot, so you get free shirts?
Maybe, if I just take them.
Yeah, I know, they're just sitting right there,
Yeah,
unattended.
they are.
What's your favorite cryptid?
My favorite cryptid is probably going to be the Fresno Nightcrawlers. I find the way that they move like utterly unsettling, and they're really fun. And I put them all over this stuff. They're in the back of like this guy too, because I'm like, oh yeah, I love these guys, so I put them on there. And I have one over there. Take more walks with friends in the dark. There's a lot of like, I do a lot of like positive phrases with this stuff, and like they're good for that because like there's a lot of movement. There's like, I do like a Father's Day card with like the two of them together because there's one big of me there. I love those guys. They're so fun. So that's my favorite one. That's the answer.
I have a question. Why did you make these cards?
Why did I make these cards? People often ask me to make like a book or something with the stuff that I do. And honestly, there's a bunch of books. I don't need to make a book. But I have a lot of witchy friends, and so I was like, oh, I'll make something like this. So like, it's still like a storytelling vehicle. Like you're telling stories to yourself about what you need to hear, but it's more about like, it's kind of witchy, it's a little magical, it's a little magical thinking. But that's why I did these, is because they made more sense for me to make. And people that are my friends with, that's like the audience I was making something for. So that's why I made these.
Are you planning to make another one of these?
Well, funny you ask. I'm gonna make another like expansion deck, probably 27 cards of just Christmas monsters. So there's like Krampus, there's the Yule lads, there's all these guys that like, there's the giant Yule cat that eats you if you don't get socks. There's all these like really like weird monsters around Christmas time that show up, and I thought I'd do something about them. So it's a blend of like folklore and this system that I already have. So that's the answer. I will probably do that with these. I was gonna do like just Sasquatches, but like when you do like a theme, you often end up like not having enough of a balance to pull things around. So like I kind of wanted something that like overlord. So I'm doing Christmas monsters next.
Good, how are you?
So, where did you get this artwork from?
I was able to find a secondhand Japanese magazine shop, and I found the Shonen issue from the early 70s that had these illustrations in them. I couldn't find any artist information, but I thought it would be really good to get HD prints of them and share them with the world.
What's your favorite cryptid?
I think my favorite cryptid is probably the Flatwoods Monster. It's just very unique in the way it looks, and I don't think a bunch of country folk could have came up with the way that thing looked so easily. There's definitely something behind the way that it looks that makes it very unique.
Why did you make this stuff?
I grew up loving Godzilla and Ultraman, and I love old Japanese toys, and I thought, what a good combination to take, traditional Japanese toys and produce some of the monsters from our very country.
Why did you start making this stuff?
I started making this stuff because I always wanted to be a maker. I wanted to do special effects. I wanted to do movies, but I didn't want to move out of Ohio. And so I just started making things on my own. I worked for a couple prop and animatronic companies. and I picked a lot of stuff up, and I just started making it myself. And I'm really into cryptids. I really like them. I like the legends. I like the stories, and I'm just really excited about it.
So, which one of these that you made is your favorite?
My favorite, oh boy, I think my favorite would be the jackalope. It's definitely the jackalope. It's a childhood favorite of mine. I used to have a grandma that had figurines of it all around the house, and it just like, I really attached to it.
What's your favorite cryptid?
My favorite cryptid of all time is the chupacabra, but primarily the original chupacabra from the 1990s, which was described as being very alien and very reptilian. It was covered in spines. I love it.
Which one of these that you made is your most recent?
Most recent. The one I made that's the most recent would have to be the Squonk. I had to get them all ready for this show. But luckily I was able to get plenty made in order for this show for us to be able to sell them.
Why did you do this stuff in the first place?
Why did I get into hunting ghosts and cryptids and stuff like that? I was a child in the corner of Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and I grew up hearing this legendary monster on our property. It had the head of a man and the body of a cow or a big cat and a wooden leg. Sounds like something out of South Park, right? And he was called the bench leg. And what we found out with the bench leg is that it had a real story, that there was a man who was murdered and his cow was killed to hide the crime, and he had fought with a stick, so that's why it was all this amalgamated thing. Now, as I grew up, I kept hearing that legend. It was the 70s. I liked Star Wars. I didn't care about monsters or anything like that. But suddenly, I saw something weird that I couldn't describe. It was a big black cat, like a panther, with a kind of a weird head that ran by. I didn't see if it had a wooden leg, but then I realized every member of my family had a story about this, and now I had one too. So I think it's real. And then I start going in and realizing a lot of these other things people talk about, they're probably real too. So that got me into it, and as I got older, I started researching it, and that started interviewing more and more people, and I became more and more convinced that there's stuff out there we don't know.
What's your favorite cryptid?
Oh gosh, my favorite, there's one in Florida. He's a Bigfoot. Yeah, but in Florida, you know, Bigfoots have to have stupid names in Florida, right? They call them skunk apes and stuff like that. But this one's in the town of Barton, and he's a lazy Bigfoot. So he's fat like me, and I appreciate that. He's always hot, so he's always sticking out his tongue. He carries a lantern because he has bad eyesight. I mean, this is my wife's illustration of him. See, look, the resemblance. Look, yeah, a little close. But the beautiful thing is his name is the Barton Booger. And he even has a song from the 1960s called the Barton Booger Boogie. What other cryptids have a song? I mean, come on, it's just cool. So that's my boy. So I love him. So there you go.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I
It's
was trying
silly.
to hold my laugh.
That's okay. You're allowed to laugh. It's the Barton Booger, Barton, Florida. So
how did you get with the other people you do the how do you get that with the other person you do the podcast before other people are?
like for interviews and stuff like that,
No, like-
or like my co-host Erica, who's not here. Yeah, she actually was. She hosted her own podcast of a thing called Drinking with Authors, and it's basically she interviewed authors, and I came on because I'd written a couple books about monsters and legends. And so she interviewed me, and she realized we had another podcast just talking stories and interviewing other people with their stories. So that's what we did, and that's what we do at EerieTravels.com.
Start doing this stuff in the first place.
So, since I was young, I always found myself being interested and attracted to the strange and unexplained. I would always gravitate towards books on Bigfoot, Nessie, UFOs, different cryptid encounters, the paranormal. For some reason, it always just kind of grabbed me. And also had a few different experiences growing up. The home I grew up in, there was some paranormal activity happening. Had a few UFO sightings when I was a kid, so it kind of always stuck with me.
What's one of the things that you have made you like the most?
One of the things I've made that I like the most, in terms of designs, I have a graphic design background, so I do all my own artwork. But I would say some of my favorite designs that I've done are the Flatwoods Monster shirt right here. Had a lot of fun making that one, and also my Ape Canyon Bigfoot shirt right there. Which was a lot of fun. It's a really interesting story that predates Patterson Gimlin film from the late 1960s, 1967. In 1924, Frank Back and a group of prospectors up on Mount St. Helens were attacked by a group of Bigfoot after they shot them and they saw the distance. And this group of Bigfoot came in for revenge and started attacking their cabin in the middle of the night.
What's your favorite cryptid?
My favorite cryptid is the Jersey Devil. And it's a really fascinating piece of American folklore. Dates all the way back to the 1700s. The story of Mother Leeds giving birth to her cursed 13th child that transformed into the Jersey Devil. And it's been a great piece of history and story for New Jersey and even the surrounding states for, gosh, we're going on over 300 years at this point. It's a really, really cool story. You got historical figures like Benjamin Franklin being involved in it as well, and the 1909 flap of sightings that happened all throughout New Jersey, Philadelphia, even into Maryland and upstate New York as well. So it's one of my favorite stories.
Why did you make these in the first place?
Well, so I started off making regular stuffies. Sock monkeys, actually, was what I started with. And eventually I started teaching a class at Portland Jewish Academy during their summer discovery class that was called Unicorns, Dragons, and Bigfoots, Oh My. And so during that class, I started studying cryptids, and the more I learned about cryptids, the more interested I got in cryptids, and then I started making a few cryptid plushies, and then they just eventually took over my entire life.
Which one of these that have you made is your favorite?
Oh, that's a hard question. I love all of my babies so much, but I've got to say my Grafton monsters have a special place in my heart with their extra fuzzy love. I've always been a big Grafton monster fan, but obviously we're at Squonkapalooza, so I should say Squonk.
I'm just asking what your favorite in general.
Yeah, it's a hard call. I love them all. Recently I made a Who Gag that turned out really cool, so I was pretty proud of that one. But yeah, I love them all. It's hard to say what the favorite would be.
What cryptids are you planning to do next?
That is such a great question, because I've always got a nice long list of ones that I want to have coming up. So I know I'm working on a Bear Lake monster pretty soon. I just recently made my first Ogua, and that one turned out pretty cool, so I'll probably try to make some more of those. I've got a whole little list in my head. I'm doing atmospheric jellyfish, not too distant in the future. I made a couple prototypes for that, so I'm always working on new stuff.
You understand this one? What is your favorite cryptid? Like, just what is? Not.
See, that's such a hard question because they're all so great, but I really do tend to lean towards the Grafton monster as one of my favorites.
Even not in plush?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the Grafton monster, so I invited the Grafton monster to be here today, but unfortunately he couldn't make it.
Why did you create that card game?
Ah yes, my game, Beast Brawl, the game of cryptid combat, is a simple but easy to play game that anyone can pick up. I wanted a game that would be easy for people to try out here at any festival that I go to, and I could adjust accordingly to any festival. So I love adding cards to the game. It's one of my favorite things. So I can add, and so for example, we have the Squonk added to the game for this festival. Earlier, I was at the Lake Erie Monster Festival where I made the Lake Erie Monster card. Here's Squonk for Squonkapalooza. The game looks like Pokemon, but it plays like rock, paper, scissors. So once again, that's pretty accessible to many people, and that's what I want. A game that's easy and fun to play, fast-paced, and it feels like an actual brawl. No offense to all the bigger card games there, but I always felt like I was going to a major war. In this case, it's just an intimate battle between who can, and just finally settle the debate. Who would win, the Squonk or Bigfoot?
What's your favorite card?
Oh, my favorite card?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Card-wise, currently one of my favorites would probably be I'm going to say the Capre. The Capre is based off of a cryptid. It's based on a cryptid of the same name. It's basically the Filipino equivalent to Bigfoot, described as a Bigfoot-like creature that likes to hide in trees and smoke Cuban cigars. So a bit different from your regular Bigfoot, but a fun one. And people always underestimate it and don't understand what it is. But when I start explaining what it's actually like, and then you compare it to its battle mechanics, it fits pretty well. And I'm proud of how well it plays and how good it designs. So.
What's your favorite cryptid?
Ooh, okay. It's actually tied for me. There are two of my favorites. One of my number one favorites, which is a little bit more family friendly, of course. You see, I'm from Ohio, so I don't know if you're familiar with Ohio's most notorious cryptid, the Loveland Frogman.
We actually searched for that one.
Oh, fantastic! Did you have any luck finding it?
And
oh man, you should come to the Frogman Festival. It'll be in, let's see, first weekend of March, 2 days, and it's in Loveland, Ohio. It'll be fun. Either that or go to, go to, especially if you go to the Loveland Frogman Festival. Once again, March, first weekend of March, first 2 days.
Oh.
You'll meet all kinds of researchers and other podcasters, and I'll be there with a new Frogman and card. So, yep.
Why are you making this film?
Because I just fell in love with the Squonk when I found out about it, and I thought a lot of people don't know about it, and it's such an interesting creature. You know, it's the one cryptid that's not dangerous. It's like so sad, and you know, I kind of wanted to write something, you know, that brings awareness to the Squonk, but also talks about beauty in a way that doesn't make it so important.
So, when do you think the movie you're making will come out?
Well, we're hoping to film it like later this year, and then it takes a little while to get all the post-production done. So hopefully it'll be done in early spring, and then it'll get in festivals. And then after the festival circuit, then the following year it'll come out in theaters.
Okay. And also, is it only going to contain the Squonk or any other cryptids?
It's just about the Squonk.
What inspired you to make all of this stuff?
So I wanted to do something different than most other people were doing. So I discovered that I could make these cool cryptids, so I did that instead.
So which one of these cryptids that you made is your favorite?
So my favorite is actually the Gilman, but I don't have any of them out because they sold already, but that I have a tattoo of them.
So these guys will spend sometimes 80 years in freshwater before they go and breed, and we assume they die after this. Interesting things happen though. They have undetermined growth rate and undetermined size genes. We don't know how big most of them can get, generally speaking. If they have food, they're going to get big faster.
Why did you do this in the first place?
So we started a Bigfoot society that kind of fell apart, fizzled out, but it was me and Jade just showing up. So we were like, well, we might as well record it. And then it just kind of blew up from there.
Yep, we meet once a month to talk Bigfoot, and when everyone stopped showing up, it was just me and him talking it, we decided to record it instead.
And post it, and then that took on a life of its own.
And then we're here now.
Yeah. Ready, bud?
So what is your general goal necessarily?
Goal?
You gotta get the goal.
To live every day to its fullest.
Have fun.
That's our goal.
This is fun, right?
Like
I'm
like looking for Bigfoot.
So we don't really look anymore. My knee's bad.
the thought of looking
Our
for
goal is to
Bigfoot.
meet people like you and have fun and hang out
And talk about Bigfoot, share ideas, and learn new ideas.
and learn. Yeah.
So now he's getting eaten.
This right there. That's perfect.
Krupkowski, brother.
Thank you.
Also, he's still getting eaten.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
Oh, he's vaccinated.
What's your favorite cryptid? Not Squonk.
My favorite cryptid not Squonk is Mothman because he's a little weird like an X-Man. I'm an X-Man fan. I'm a comic guy. I know you're not a fan of Spider-Man, but it's okay. I still like you. Mothman's kind of a little bit unique. He's kind of interdimensional, very paranormal, and I just think he's cool.
So what's your favorite, vendor that's ever came here?
I can't just pick one. I have a lot of favorite vendors. You got the Geek Foundry, Encrypted Comforts, Encrypted Clyde, and Star Cruiser Studios. One of our sponsors, the Hodag Store. Also, we got, let me think here, Jamie and Jen Clowder, Jamie Snell, Easton Hawk is here. We got Lil Bits Prints, Tara Roots Illustration. I can go on and on. I love them all.
Why did you do Squonkapalooza in the first place?
Because why not? Mothman has a festival. There's plenty of Bigfoot festivals. Frogman now has a festival. So why not the Squonk? He's different. He's not frightening or scary. He is a sad little creature. He just cries himself into a puddle of his own tears. But we want to celebrate him so that he doesn't cry himself out of existence. We want to have fun with the Squonk. We want to have people come and cheer him up so he's not sad all the time. We wanted to bring everyone together for a weird little cryptid and our weird little cryptid family as it's grown into so many vendors and friends coming and hanging out with us.
Goodbye, Squonkapalooza. I'm out of here.